that time of the week again, or time of the month again, maybe, because we haven't been on for 2 weeks. And I should have said time of the month. I'm so sorry.
Wait,
anyway.
How are we starting this week? Oh, no.
It is another edition of, and you can't even hear me because the music's too loud. That's better. Another edition of the Saints Martini. With, of course, Irish the Halo and myself, Warren the Saint. Welcome to an hour or so of cocktails and conversations. So, as we'll just move the music out of the way, there we go. How are you today, Irish? How are you going?
I am exhausted.
Busy week?
I have had a crazy week. Actually, the last 2 weeks were crazy. And I know we didn't record last week because you weren't feeling well. And the week before that, we didn't post what we recorded because by the end of it, I realized the next morning that I was entirely too drunk by the end of the show.
It's actually, I've actually listened to a bit of it. It's not
that
bad.
And I wouldn't allow him to post it.
It's not that bad, but
okay, so don't.
It's not.
Warren, you don't have to lie to me to be my friend. Just, please.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I said some stuff, and it wasn't bad stuff. It was rambling, and it was a lot of rambling, and so we decided not to post that. Basically, I just put a blanket demand, and Warren was nice enough to say, "You're right. Let's not do it." So, yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, and my weeks have been filled with crazy, busy stuff. So yeah, I'm glad to be sitting here right now, not doing anything but talking to you, and drinking some vodka shots.
Oh yes, we'll get to
which
that.
I've actually said, and I told Warren this too, and he's to tell me banana if I start to sound like I'm too drunk. That I'm only allowed to have one shot every half hour. That's it. So.
Well, we'll get on to the cocktail of choice in just a moment. But
yeah,
yes, I'm still stuck in quarantine, and no end in sight. I don't know, another month yet. I don't know. It's not going to end. It's never going to end. I swear, as long as they get a single case of COVID-19, they're not going to lift the quarantine.
Oh Jesus! I wish they'd be doing that here. We are just a mess.
Yeah, I mean, we've got it down now. Since the quarantine was brought out, I don't know how long was it? 6 weeks ago or something like that. Now, we're down now to only getting around about 50 cases a day.
Okay,
but we were getting 700 a day. So the quarantines worked. But, oh, God, it's getting monotonous. Oh, but in a week's time, they're going to raise the curfew. You will be allowed to be outside after 8 p.m. You will be allowed to stay outside until 9 p.m.
Wow, that's really
so,
fancy.
Yeah, you're going to get an extra hour of outside time. So that's going to be, woohoo, we'll have a party. Well, not really, you know what I mean, by yourself.
Because you guys are apparently a lot smarter than us. We are nearing 200,000 dead, and I don't know if you heard this or not, but Bob Woodward of the old Woodward and Bernstein fame, a brilliant journalist, and a lot of people have had some issue with the fact that he held on to this stuff, but I kind of understand. He has 18 hours of on-the-record audio tapes of interviews with Trump, where he admits to knowing how deadly COVID has been, way back, like in February, said that he knew that it was transmitted via the air, knew that it was way more deadly than the flu, and then admitted that, he's been downplaying it, that he always wants to downplay it. So now we find out that he knows for sure, because some people thought, well, maybe people aren't telling him really how deadly it is, or maybe he's just too stupid to grasp how deadly it is. No, it's way more nefarious than that. He understood exactly how dangerous it is. He understood exactly which communities were being affected and didn't give a shit. And he purposely lied to the American people And it's all on audio tape now, so there's no way they can deny it. Now, he's coming out, and of course, they panicked and sent out everybody from his administration that could possibly go out to be an apologist for this and say, oh, he didn't want, Americans to panic. This is the guy who gave us caravans at the borders and Antifa burning our cities. And like, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't want Americans to panic. That's literally all you want them to do, because all of your politics and all of your popularity is fear-based, fear-mongering, gaslighting bullshit. Well, but now people are actually dead.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Yeah, well, I'll put it to you this way. This is the same man who openly states on numerous occasions, and in fact, I think it's part of the actual campaign, to be honest, which is that if you vote for Joe Biden is going to end Christianity. He's going to end it. He's going to make it illegal.
He literally said, kill God.
Yeah, kill God.
He's going to kill God.
Now, so Joe Biden, a devout Catholic, is apparently going to kill Christianity. So, because he's actually part of. No, we'll have to talk about this a bit later in the show. Was it QAnon? But don't the Trumps?
Oh, well, that's a Democrat thing. But the reason why he says he's going to kill God is because Biden is a Catholic, and American Protestant evangelicals, especially the non-denominational ones, are the really, really extremes, think that Catholicism is a cult, but they're not. So they don't think Catholics are actual Christians. Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where that comes from. He's trying to gin up that evangelical base that he's actually been losing. It's the same reason he came out the other day, right after all this came out, before speaking, gave a list of his potential on the list Supreme Court nominees for his next term. Okay, like he's going to fucking do that.
But are there any spots coming up? I thought someone had to leave.
Well, I mean,
before...
somebody has to basically die or retire.
Yeah.
He's betting that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is going to be off of the court soon, one way or the other. Okay? So he's trying to gin up. Yeah, no doubt. He's trying to gin up the evangelical base by saying, that it could be Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, who...
Hello, I'm Ted Cruz.
Well, he didn't even talk like that, but man, let me tell you, he's a fucking mess.
I was going off more.
And he also mentioned Rudy Giuliani.
Oh my God!
For the fucking Supreme Court, Nosferatu on the Supreme Court.
But hang on, that's what I was about to say. Don't you actually need to be a human? Because if he was going to do Rudy Giuliani, couldn't then the Democrats just say, we're going to put up, I don't know, a black bear, right? Just have Bonzo the black bear. They free Bonzo the black bear from the circus. So what's the difference? This Rudy Giuliani is not actually human. He's some sort of vampiric thing. I don't even know what he is actually.
Okay, so...
I mean, you know...
If you're looking at it constitutionally purely, there is no actual mandate for it to be a human. So there's no specification in our Constitution that anybody on the Supreme Court must actually be a human. Which, according to the QAnon people, is why the reptilians have been able to take over so easily.
So does that mean that they could... Well, if we want to talk about non-human of the week, so new segment... the non-human of the week. What about Ben Shapiro? I mean, he's not a human being. I mean, he's not part of the Homo sapiens species. Mm-hmm. Ben Shapiro is actually... here we go. Ben Shapiro, human or garden gnome? He's a garden gnome. Okay, which is a man's only... Well,
don't insult the garden gnomes, dude. Don't insult the
well, first of all, Ben Shapiro is only about 3 foot tall. Okay, you know how they have horse doors? You know, at stables with horses, you know, where you can open the bottom and the top separately, okay? When Ben Shapiro is around, they just open the bottom door for him. They don't bother about the top, okay? He wins, you know, the limbo. Was it the limbo? You know, where they go under, because he just walks under. Ben Shapiro, I swear, I have heard people talk on social media that they have seen Ben Shapiro wearing a little green hat sitting by their fish pond. Sitting there with a little fishing line, trying to fish for the goldfish. He's a garden gnome. He's not a human. I swear. He is Ben Shapiro. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is fact. Ben Shapiro, man or garden gnome?
I think the gnomes are going to be pissed, man.
I'm just putting it out there. Ben Shapiro, garden gnome.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's a horrible, horrible whatever he is. I'll just say that.
He's a piece of slime. Yeah.
Well, there's so much of that going around right now that basically my entire country is oozing. So, yeah, I get that. What parts aren't oozing are on fire. Not because of Antifa, which doesn't fucking actually exist, except for people who are against fascism, which should be everybody, you'd think.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I've tried to explain this to friends. I know. Antifa is not a real organisation. It's just a term. Yeah, I know. But it's like hitting your head against a brick wall.
Incredibly frustrating. Two people in my family believe in, and one of them to more extreme than the other. One of them actually believes in the whole sperm and blood drinking cabal with the Democrats, and everybody's so evil and blah. But they think, so one of them actually believes these things because, and I quote, "I've seen videos." Dear God. Oh. And also the screeching.
Fuck me, do they subscribe to Ancient Aliens as well? I mean, you know.
Well, that's a whole other story. But this person screeches about how I just don't understand because I don't want to know the truth. And I just
Can we just okay. I was just going to say, can we just, for everyone listening who's not American, okay? Because I don't actually think this is...
It's not just America.
Isn't it? Because in Australia, if you were to mention Q, or was it QAnon or whatever the fuck it's called?
Whatever the fuck,
okay. Yeah. In Australia, 99.999% of Australians would have no fucking idea what you're talking about. They would probably say Q. Isn't that a character from Star Trek? I mean,
and yes, that's the only acceptable Q, and he was already horrible.
But really, there is absolutely like no one in Australia would have, unless you were a member of an extremist group. No one would have any idea what the fuck you're talking about, and extremist groups are pretty small in Australia. So, for all of the hand gestures. I just knocked my headphones off.
We know what happened the last time. Was a new keyboard, a new computer.
Yeah. I know. I spilled my martini on it, and it'll come to life. What was that movie? The computer came to life. Of course, it was like 2001. Not so fast, Warren.
Oh,
I don't think
right
so,
now.
Warren. Will I dream?
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
I just love that line. Oh, that wasn't from 2001. It was from 2010. Actually, where
10,
I think where
I'm gonna just admit I've never seen those movies.
Oh, haven't you? Okay, where Hell actually when they're switching Hell off, they're
I know what happens, but I've never seen them.
And Hell actually says to these programmer, his very last words are, "Will I dream?" It's really the concept of computer becoming self-aware, and that's the question too. Then is that murder? But we are getting really off the topic of what we were talking about.
Okay. But I just took half another shot before my half hour is up. Buckle up.
All right.
Because I have to talk about. Okay, so did you not know what happened in Germany recently? A bunch of QAnon supporters in Germany literally tried to storm the Reichstag.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, but they do have a certain percentage. They do have at least 5% of their population who is psychologically nuts. I mean,
we have like 23 to 36% of our population that supports Trump no matter what he does. So where would you put them?
Well, see, okay, to be honest with you, and I mean, like, laughs to one side, I still don't believe that everyone who votes for Trump is a racist, narcissist, horrible person.
Oh, no, they're just okay with it.
I think that they are, yes, they just go along with it. Or they're indifferent, or they don't understand, or they don't care, or they're not interested. Well, you know, or they're interested in only one thing. And if he stands for that one thing, then they'll support him. I think there's a difference between, and now, but that to one side. That I don't think is that 38%. I think that's everyone that votes for Trump. I think once you get down to that 38%, we're now starting to get into, as you said, the Kool-Aid Brigade. They are seriously nuts. I mean, they can have a belief system and they will change their entire belief system based on a tweet from Donald Trump. Now,
or they'll justify anything else they've said or heard that didn't happen based on a tweet from Donald Trump or somebody else, and they think, oh, he gave us a signal, because he said this word, or he used 16 letters in this, it's some kind of crazy bullshit. And you can't even logically interact with people who believe these things. You can't have an actual conversation that doesn't turn into them screeching at you for you not being tolerant of their beliefs. That's the thing I got the last time, is that the problem with me is that I just don't have any tolerance for other people's beliefs. See, the thing, and I tried to tell them, was the thing about facts is that it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in them. It doesn't matter whether or not you believe in the truth. It's still the fucking truth, and they're still fucking facts. It doesn't matter whether or not you believe them. That's what makes them facts. And all of this shit is just crap, and it's so dangerous. They got into our country here by going into Facebook groups, not only from the right-wing groups that you would expect, okay, like the militias and things like that, but they went into the alternative health websites and targeted suburban white moms and who were selling essential oils to their friends.
Oh, okay.
Those alternative sites where they tell you, if you put a jade egg in your vagina, it will, please, let's not even talk about how you get drawn into that shit, because that's where this person got drawn in my family. The other person got drawn in not quite as deeply, but because they only get their news from podcasts like Joe Rogan.
Right.
They literally will not listen to any type of other news source, and they actually had said, I'd rather be dead than listen to mainstream news. So how do you talk to people like that? How do you get them to see reason? You can't. You just literally cannot.
Wow. That's, what's the reason? Can I ask, what is the reason that they don't trust? I don't even believe we still have this term now. I mean, we have this term called mainstream media, which blows my mind. But anyway.
Well, that's what it is now. It's mainstream media.
So what's their problem with it? What do they actually believe? What do they believe is... Okay, but then why do they listen to Fox News? Because isn't that... If Fox News...
They don't.
If Fox News is not acceptable to them.
No, these two people in my family do not listen to any mainstream news. And in their mind, because it's on cable, even Fox News can't be trusted. And also because, they said some things about Trump. One of these people had years ago said to me, and here's the thing, they're very gullible. I knew that they had gotten into some websites where they were getting information that were from bad sources. And the way their mind works is different, because they saw Putin speaking years and years ago. It was before Trump got elected. And it was like them trying to interfere in the elections or something. And he came on TV and our media showed it with him speaking with his interpreter. And my family member's response to it was, well, I don't believe that he did any of these things. He seems really sincere, like he just really cares about his country and wants to take care of it.
Yeah.
This is a person who cannot grasp the concept of somebody lying when they're really fucking lying, okay?
Yeah.
But yet thinks that everything that is going on is some nefarious, weird shit. And there's literally no way to actually have a conversation with them anymore. So now, and with both of these family members, because the other one has gotten not as extreme, but still is buying into this stuff. Neither one of these people vote, thank God. Although one of them said that because my mother had said to them several times, thank God you don't vote, that they actually went and registered as a Republican, they and their wives, just so that they could go and vote for Donald Trump. But I believe that they will not do that.
That doesn't actually mean they would go and vote, though. You're right.
I think they're too fucking lazy to do it. I really do. Thank God. But it's really disturbing to me. It's really disturbing to me that I have people in my family that I cannot look at with any kind of respect, because I just think, and I'm going to be honest with you, one of them, we already had a nickname about their intelligence level, like forever. And it was mean. And everybody in my family said, oh, that's so mean. It's like, yeah, but we keep having these things that happen that reinforce this. So yeah, within our own little group here, we refer to this person as this name. And, I just now feel super vindicated about it, because I feel like now at least other people in the family realize, they go, oh shit, yeah, you weren't wrong. They're really, really dumb. Because they're gullible. They're just gullible.
Is there something in this where this is something as an outsider I see very much, as a non-American looking in, okay? Mm-hmm. One thing that I notice very much from social media and also from American movies and television is that why is America the biggest economy in the world, the most powerful military in the world, but it always expresses itself as the victim? Right? I don't know, and I don't know if Americans notice this. Because I just don't know if they notice it, but there are so many times I will be talking to an American who will talk about how, they'll be talking about how, Fiji is destroying America. It's like, fucking Fiji! Seriously! You arguing
Honestly,
about
I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say Fiji's ruining America.
No. What I mean is, I had an argument once with somebody arguing the point because there was a fucking dispute about these fishing boats in fucking Fiji. The whole thing was worth about $200,000. And someone actually sort of said to me, see, we're victimized all the time. And it's God. Like, really? I mean, seriously, $200,000 to the Fijian government, it's still petty cash, but it's still... But it's a spit in the ocean to the United States.
I'm going to assume that this was an American white male person. Am I correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Here's my comment. Here's my comment on that. Overall, men, especially white ones, are used to the world over, okay, used to having privilege. Everything should belong to them. What's their oil doing our oil doing under their sand, that kind of concept, right? Colonialism in Britain, all this shit. White men, because women have been suppressed too over time, but they're still just as bad these days, even though they don't have as much power. But especially in America, where in the last 50 years especially, when women and minorities have been demanding more rights here, over and over and over again, white men tell each other and tell themselves, and the media tells them, that poor them, you're just so bad for being a white guy, right? This is the way they feel. Nobody's telling them this. What we're doing is calling them out on their actual bullshit. But what it feels like, because their mommies coddled them so much their whole lives and told them just how wonderful they were and how everybody should just love them so much like their mamas did. The problem is that we got a bunch of pussy-ass white guys who want to whine all the time about how they're actually losing position in the world, especially here in the U.S.
I've heard this before.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, the more they see they're losing their top level position where people don't question them, and oh my God, minorities would like cops to systematically stop killing them unnecessarily. That seems like some sort of threat to them. Like, and I know it's something old that people have said, like, equal rights for other people doesn't mean less rights for you. It's not pie. You know, but see, they think it's pie. They think other people having the same equal rights as they have means they get less. And the reason for that is because in the past, they took everything from everybody else. They took the other people's pieces of pie. They're still doing it, but now they're getting called on it. So, that's really hard to handle when you're a fucking toddler. That's what's happening in the U.S. We're raising a bunch of we're raising a bunch of conservative cucks, okay? Because
So
they're
in
a
other
bunch
words,
they call us snowflakes, but
Yeah.
they're the ones whining and melting down over every little fucking thing that happens in the country.
Well, I think
we're
I've-
just trying to actually make it equal.
Well, I think I've said this before. Was it Tommy Lauren?
Yeah.
Lauren. Okay.
Laren
whatever. She makes a career out of calling people snowflakes. Yet all she does is complain about how horrible her life is every 5 seconds. Well, she's the biggest snowflake there is. Hypocrisy is not a word she's ever read in a dictionary. But this is my next point, is that, okay, if that's happening in America today, if the United States is the most powerful nation right now, although you're being challenged, but if it's the most powerful nation right now, and you haven't ever really been challenged before, because the Soviet Union may have been a military challenge, but it was never an economic challenge. So now you're facing something you've never faced before, which is military and economics simultaneously. The United States has never had to face that before.
No.
But here's the thing. If you go back and, let's say, look at the British Empire. Now, let's have a look at a certain little war in the 1880s called the Sudan. Now, that was all happened because Britain sent an emissary, if you like, to support the Sudanese government during a popular uprising, and he was killed in the famous Battle of Khartoum. Lord Kitchener. I think they even made a movie about it starring Charlton Heston. Now, the British then did absolutely nothing, waited a few years, and then said, right, it's time to avenge Kitchener, because we, the British, have been so hard done by because one man was killed in a revolution in a foreign country who we sent. We now need to invade the entire country and take it over.
Right.
Now, to me, that does not sound all that dissimilar to what's been going on in the last 20 years in the United States. It's just that it was happening in Britain during their glory days of empire, to using the word glory days very loosely. But the glory days of the United States. The United States doesn't run empire quite the same way as, let's say, Britain did or France did. But it's still kind of an empire. It's just that it's, you know, and so is it that the simple fact that, and we are kind of seeing it even now, because even with your big rival, China, that the Chinese, if anyone dares say anything bad about the Chinese, suddenly they cut off diplomatic aid. They cut off support. They cut this. They won't trade with you. They won't buy this. They won't sell you that. Simply because a baseball player said something about the people of Tibet. And then suddenly, oh, no, now, you know, we're not going to buy your cars anymore. Now we're not going to buy your whatever anymore. You know, the Chinese, I will say the Chinese government, not so much the people, but are some of the biggest snowflakes on the fucking planet. So is it simply just power? Is it nothing more that when you give people power, they can never lose it? And is that really what white privilege is? you've been given power, and now that power is being taken away in the sense that you have to be like everybody else, and they can't cope.
Well, we weren't given power. We took it, and we did it violently, and nobody ever gave white men power intentionally. They took it somehow, and now everybody is supposed to pay for that. And no matter how long that's been going on, because it's been going on for a very long time, they feel like now they're entitled to have that to themselves without anybody else having equality. So yeah, I think they would fight against that with every ounce of their being. Going back to Tomi Lahren, somebody like her, what she is nothing more than a pretty face who was hired to regurgitate the things men already believe back to them so they can feel validated by it. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
It makes them feel like, because those are not her original thoughts. Let me tell you something. And a lot of women that were raised in parts of society where men who watch, white men who watch Fox News, a lot of women are self-loathing anyway. I'm going to say to you, my mother-in-law said to me when we were there last year, before, when everybody was starting to get together for the presidential election, we were talking about all the different candidates. I think at that time, I don't know if Kamala was still in the race or not. In speaking about the people that were still in the race, and I know Elizabeth Warren was still in the race, her comment to me was, well, because we were talking about Trump and the different, and she voted for him last time. She's from Tennessee. She didn't know any better. She's not a person who pays attention to politics, but her best friend was a Trump supporter, so she listened to her and just voted for him. And she knows she's not going to vote for him again, but what she said to me as well, I just can't vote for the woman. And I said, well, what do you mean? What do you not like about her? We were definitely talking about Elizabeth Warren at the time. What is it that you don't like about her? She goes, well, it's not anything really. It's just that I don't think she should be president. And I said, why not? And she goes, I said, that sounds pretty misogynistic. Why don't you think she should be president? And I said, is it a policy thing? She goes, well, no, I just don't think a woman should be president. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, it's not that I don't think a woman is smart enough to be president, but I just don't think the men will listen to her. Therefore, she shouldn't be president.
That's something my mother would say.
Yeah, thank you. And I thought, I don't mean to read anything into this other than the fact that you have lived in the fucking backwoods for your entire life. But see, here's the thing that I don't understand. She was married to a guy who was the head of Medicare and Medicaid for all of Tennessee. Married to him. They dated for a month, and got married, and they were married their entire lives. Okay. They had a great marriage. He was a brilliantly kind person. And I've never understood how they could have such separate ideologies about people. And it just shows me that, I guess, opposites attract or something. Yeah. She doesn't pay any attention. And he's been gone now for 24 years. So she doesn't pay any attention to politics, but what it showed me is that the misogyny, even within those same circles, and she's an evangelical Christian. She was raised Reformed Quaker, came to Tennessee from rural Virginia, had a great job, though. She was the head of the neonatal unit at a hospital in Nashville for 30 years. It's not that she wasn't an educated woman, but her ideology is weird. And I thought, I can't stay in this house. When I heard her tell me that she didn't think a woman should be president, not because she didn't think that she'd be a good president, but that she didn't think the men would listen to them, therefore. And I just thought, you probably are the kind of person that thinks that a woman should submit to her husband, and that's why we've never really gotten along. Just because I'm just not that kind of girl. But yeah, I think it's weird in those communities where you've got the evangelical Christians. A lot of women believe that they have a place that's actually beneath the men in society, no matter what they do. And almost always the evangelicals are going to be white people. Almost always. Not all the time, but almost always. When I say evangelicals, I'm not talking about regular Protestants. Okay, I'm talking about crazy fucking evangelicals. So, yeah.
Although, you can see families where women are abused and it has nothing to do with religion.
Oh, no. Men are just shit sometimes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a number of women, yes, there is the argument that a lot of women are not able to escape, and that's horrible situations. But there are a lot of women who, unfortunately, because they've literally been brainwashed either by their families or by society to say, "Oh, I deserve that beating." That's to me, it's
almost the same thing, though. It's the same thing where you believe, even if you're not being beaten, that you believe somehow that women shouldn't hold positions of power because the men would be mean to them.
Yes.
I mean, that's what bugs me. And I'm not saying it's exactly the same because, of course, domestic violence is a whole other issue. I'm thinking about women who really, really believe that they are in a place beneath men somehow. And so they perpetuate this problem. We have a lot of women like that who vote for Trump, because they really just don't believe any woman should be president. So I would like to say that a lot of this has gotten worse in our country because over time there has been a systematic campaign to reduce the amount of funding in our education, to limit how much education kids get for free here, to make sure that the kids in the bad areas don't get that much education. And we've talked about this before, because I really do believe that it leads to ignorant people being easier to manipulate and to frighten. And frightened people are easier to control. And it's also related here to our elementary school, our school to prison pipeline, because we have so many fucking private for-profit prisons. Educated people don't go to prison as often. It's the same reason we don't do a whole lot of rehabilitation in our prisons, because we want people to reoffend so that they can go back to prison, because we've guaranteed these for-profit prisons and these businesses running them that they will maintain a certain percentage of occupancy within their prisons. How do you do that?
Well,
Shouldn't it be the other way around?
Shouldn't it be
the other way around? Shouldn't it be we pay you more if less people are in your prison? I mean, honestly, you want people not to come back.
I've never understood how a nation can run a privatized prison system. It doesn't.
Oh, we shut it down. We shut it down when Obama was in office. Susan Rice shut the whole thing down. Yeah. And as soon as Trump came back in, they just reopened private for-profit prisons. Do you know why that is? Because they were taking people in at the border, and all of Trump's crony friends, they were building temporary housing units in prisons and tent cities, okay, for kids run by private companies and for people taken across the border, and also for the prisons in our country. Everybody's getting rich now because of it. That's what that's about. How are you supposed to reduce the number of people committing and being in prisons if the whole point of them being in prison and putting more people in prison is so that people make money off that? Nobody's punishments would be for profit.
Well, that's the thing. Crime is not meant to be the... Yes, it's almost like you need people to commit crime, because if they don't commit crime, they won't get caught, they won't get convicted, they won't go to jail. So...
how are you going to get the fines for the police department? How are you going to get the...
Well, yeah, this is the whole thing. If Trump got his wish, he has no wishes, but apart from being powerful and rich, that's all he cares about. But if he had what he claims to be his wish, which is that all crime would end, okay, in the United States, well, actually, that'd be a real problem for the people that support him, because the people that support him need it. It's actually part of their industry. So it's like I hate to say this, it's like who do you love and who loves you? It's a total lie. It is a total lie.
But Warren, he doesn't want crime to end, and he doesn't claim he wants crime to end. He wants to shout the words law and order, which doesn't mean no crime. It means authoritarian response to that crime.
Yeah.
It means beating down your proposed enemies. Okay? It means abusing and imprisoning anybody who would speak out against you or stand up against what you were doing. That's what he wants. He doesn't want, he breaks the law constantly. He doesn't want an end to crime. How would he and all of the people involved with him make any fucking money? They wouldn't. He wants authoritarian fascist rule. That's what he wants, to push down his retractors, the people who would speak out against him, and protesters who would protest the things he's doing to destroy our country.
He wants to be Putin is actually what he wants.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah.
What he wants is, he wants the facade of democracy, but to basically be, I will be here as long as I like. And I will use the government to make a shitload of money.
For myself and my family and my friends, yeah.
The thing is that I'm not too sure it's really worked out for him so well, because from everything I've heard, even the amount of money that the Trump organization is sucking in through government spending doesn't actually counteract the amount of money it's hemorrhaging. So it's actually, even though they've had this huge influx of cash, it's actually hemorrhaging more money. It's like a blood transfusion where the fucking artery has been left open. It's going in, but it's coming out faster.
But Warren, he's a grifter who hired grifters to get money for him. What did he think was going to happen?
Yeah.
He got people like Brad Parscale living the fucking high life off of donor contributions. He's siphoning donor contributions into his private companies. They're siphoning money from the first responders health fund in New York, siphoning that out to some fucking who knows what kind of thing. They're lining their pockets with everybody else's money. And if he's upset they don't have enough money right now, maybe he should stop hiring other fucking con artists to run his campaign and be in charge of his fucking conned out money.
The problem is,
it's just like
yes men or yes women. Basically, they have to be people who, yes, Donald, you are the greatest athlete the world has ever seen. Yes, Donald, you are the greatest businessman. Yes, Donald, I know you weren't in the military, but you are the greatest soldier the world has ever seen. Yes, Donald, you could have played for the New York Giants. Yes, Donald, you are, yes, Donald, you are the thinnest man in the world.
You are
yes,
Kim
Donald. It very much so. That's the way, he is. And so the thing is, if you question him, you don't last. He gets rid of you. And where was I going with this? I
take notes now.
I
literally do.
It is. The thing is, that's right. I heard him. It was on Australian TV. As in American TV, obviously on Australian news, talking about how yes, well, if I have to self-fund, I can self-fund, but I don't need to because everyone loves me and I'm the most popular president of all time, and no one is as popular in the world as me. I'm the most loved man in human history, and all the usual stuff that he says. And he said, oh yes, and just like last election, I self-funded. Right, and it's like, well, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing: a lot of people either forget, don't know, or are ignorant to. The $5 million, which was self-funded by Donald Trump, okay? First of all, it was funded by the company, the Trump Corporation, which technically is his own money.
Stole it from cancer children.
Okay, yeah. So, but was that self-funded in? Yes. However, what was the first fucking thing he did once he got the nomination? The Trump campaign of the Republican Party repaid the $5 million, guys. Okay? They paid him back. And then he started charging the Republican Party for all of his needs. Even simple things. If you're working in his campaign office, you're only allowed to drink Trump bottled water, which he sells to you. Right? I mean,
That's ridiculous.
that's how fucking pathetic it all is. Do you remember in 2018, the FBI had to move out of Trump Tower when they were trying to protect Melania and...
Oh, the Secret Service?
Yeah, the Secret Service and the FBI. Did I say CIA? I mean FBI. Secret Service Protection Detail were forced to move out of Trump Tower. They were there to protect his wife and son. But they had to move out and move across the street or down the road because Trump raised the rent on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's grifting everybody. He's charging them for golf cart rentals.
Fuck me, they're there to protect his fucking wife and son. They're there to protect his wife and son, and he takes the opportunity, I'll double the fucking rent. I mean, seriously.
He doesn't care about them, Warren. He doesn't care about them, and he's charging the Secret Service for golf cart rentals at his properties when he insists upon playing golf every fucking weekend. Something he said he would never do, of course, because, Obama did it all the time. It's such bullshit.
Did you know
he's literally just...
Do you know Trump has actually now played more golf in his time, as he hasn't even finished his first term yet.
No.
He has played more golf in that first term than Obama played through his entire 2 terms. Yet, one of the biggest critics of Obama playing golf was Donald Trump. And because as you said,
it's always about projection.
And Donald Trump went on TV and said, I will never play golf in the next 8 years because I won't have time. I'll be too busy working. Oh, this is the other thing too. Did you hear, because we must stop for a drink refill.
I need a drink.
The bartender is calling. But did you hear, it's now been released that Trump watches, on average, 8 hours of television a day.
Yeah,
now,
he's not doing anything.
Now, if he sleeps, let's say, apparently he is a light sleeper, so let's say...
2 hours.
Well, he'd have to sleep more than 2 hours, he'd be dead.
No, he says they say when you can see 2, sometimes when he's online, he maybe has 2 to 3 hours downtime. Yeah. He's not okay. He's snorting Adderall. He's
he's on drugs. Yeah. Well, this is the whole thing. Yeah. Isn't there now this suspicion that emergency run to hospital was a stroke?
That's not they say, well, you know what? You know why it's a suspicion? Because he's the one who said it. Somebody had written an article mentioning him going, and he says, he comes on Twitter and goes, I did not have a series of mini strokes. Bitch, nobody said anything about mini strokes until he totally had a series of mini strokes.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now. Okay, we have to take a break.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We've got to talk drinks. We were meant to do that 40 minutes ago, and we haven't. So we must talk drinks for the show.
I already said I'm only allowed to have 1 shot of vodka in half an hour. So I already said mine. You got to do yours when we get back. But I need a break because I have to go to the restroom.
Okay,
I had too much vodka.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
And we are back. And yes, that was definitely, like always, timey-wimey. Although I binge watched, because I've been in quarantine now for so fucking long. Oh my God. I binge watched all of Stargate SG-1, the entire fucking 11 years.
Have you?
Yeah, the whole lot I've watched. And everything. Oh my God. And yes, time travel. That time fluctuation. Lieutenant Colonel Samantha Carter. No one can babble fucking talk as good as that character. That character was excellent.
You never met my high school principal.
I'd forgotten just how good the casting was on that, because she works. I've forgotten the name of the actress who played her, with the character of who would become Major General Jack O'Neill. And what was the actor's real name? I can't remember.
Well, in the movie, it was Kurt Russell.
Oh, no. Nah, in the movie. I'm talking about
No,
in
not,
the TV
was
series.
it?
Yeah, Kurt Russell played the character.
I actually never watched it.
Oh, well, I
This year.
cannot believe how well they play off each other. But anyway, we're off the topic. We were going to come back to talk about.
There's no topic. We came back.
Well, that's true. But we did say
I don't want to talk about him anymore. I hate him.
No. We did say before we left and we came back that we were.
Oh, your martini.
Well, we're meant to start the show because it is cocktails and conversation, saying what our drink of choice for the show is, and every time we wait until we're about an hour in before we actually do it because we get distracted, as we always do. So. Now, you have announced you are drinking vodka, but how are you drinking vodka? Because there are many different ways.
I'm drinking straight vodka shots.
So you're doing the vodka
this is the
shot.
week I've had.
The 30ml vodka shot.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I'm chasing it with because I am raised Southern, even though I lived up north a long time. I'm chasing it with Dr. Pepper because you know what? Fuck America right now. I have had enough right now. And
I don't think
Right.
because you have a drink of choice, it necessarily links into fuck America. It's just a drink choice.
Because that's how I'm feeling. No, it's a drink choice because that's how I'm feeling. All right.
Okay. No,
and also, I love America. I love America because I have right now, we're doing really great on the show that we're doing. So I also love and hate where I live. I just want it to improve. Go ahead. Tell us what you're drinking.
I've actually changed because I started the show. I was drinking a dry martini. Dry martini. So that's the classic martini. Gin.
Yes.
Gordon's gin.
Thank God. Yeah.
With vermouth. I use martini vermouth, but I've also used Cinzano. I prefer martini over Cinzano. That's just a personal choice. With, of course, a stuffed olive. And of course, I always only
what's
have
it stuffed with?
Anchovy stuffed olives.
Oh Lord!
Yeah, I know. You can have feta stuffed.
I know. No, I just said, "Oh Lord."
Oh, okay,
ellipses.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Now that is not that unusual. It's very common to actually have anchovy. Also, feta stuffed olives in your martinis.
Yes,
pimento,
or like a Roquefort or a blue cheese. Yeah,
or blue cheese. Yes. Or even Parmesan. Parmesan stuffed.
Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, there is actually one style of martini, which is an extra dry martini, where it's a very dirty martini. A dirty martini basically means that you crush the olives beforehand with the brine out of the jar, and then you add that to the mix, shake it, strain it off, and then you add your olives afterwards. So you get the flavour of the crushed olive and the brine. Now, not everyone likes that. For me, I'm not a big fan of the dirty martini. I like the dry martini, which has the very spicy olive. In other words, it has cheese or it has anchovy stuffed into the olive, and that's what gives the spicy, dirty, savoury flavour rather than the bitter flavour that you get from the brine in a dirty martini. So, but the big question, of course, is how much vermouth. Now, for me, I am very much of the Kingsman belief, which is that if you're doing a gin...
Glancing at an open bottle.
Yes. Now, I don't quite go... Although, I have to admit, I have once said, I'm out of vermouth. What do I do to make a martini? Just say the words vermouth over the top. What I do is I pour a tiny bit of vermouth into the actual glass that I'm serving it from, shake it around, and then tip the excess off. So it just lines the glass. And then you pour the martini on top of that. That's the way I do it. Many different people have their own versions of doing it. I always shake my martinis. I'm very much of the Bond-esque thought of martini. I believe martini should be shaken. However, speak to any serious barman or bar person, whatever you call someone who... It's not... What is the term?
A bartender.
Bartender.
It's bartender.
Bartender. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm old. I'm sorry.
You're
old.
cut off.
Sorry. I'm like Joe Biden. I've got the right intentions. I'm just old. I get it wrong sometimes, you know.
It's like, yeah, sometimes I just say, "Oh my God, please stop talking."
Yeah.
Not to you.
Oh no,
Or
no,
maybe
yeah, I know,
sometimes to you.
yeah, I know, yeah,
But mostly a joke.
I know what you mean. So just shut up. You made your point. Stop talking. I know.
I know it's like, look, I love you, dear, but please no.
But for me, I believe as a home bartender, shaking is much better than stirring. And I fully understand the bartenders say martini should be stirred because it's softer, it's gentler, it's against a large amount of ice that you control. I fully get it, and it's all about the show. And I really do understand that. I just personally think as a home bartender, if you're making individual martinis, it is so much easier to pull ice from the freezer into your shaker, gin, shake in your vermouth-lined glass, pour. The whole exercise takes you 90 seconds. You do the bartender way, you're there for 5 fucking minutes. So... So do you get my logic
They want
behind
you to
it?
be delicate. They want you to be delicate with your alcohol.
Yeah. So
Delicate.
for me, definitely, I believe in shaking, and it's not because
I'm a shake person. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a
So
shake person, and it's probably the Bond thing then.
Well, then again, I'll tell you something else I've been doing. Actually, it relates to the drinks. Is I've been reading the Ian Fleming books, the James Bond books. Actually reading the books. I've never read them before. I've read the Saint books. Got all them. I've read all them.
What do you think?
Well, I read Casino Royale.
Were they written before or after?
Oh no, before.
Were the Saints books written before?
Oh, both.
They were
both.
okay.
Both,
Okay.
yeah, both.
Okay.
The Bond novels were written by Ian Fleming in the 1950s and the early 60s. The Saint novels were written in the 1930s. Okay,
That's
they
right.
were very,
yeah.
very, very early. By Leslie Charteris, so much earlier.
Yeah.
So, the Saint predates Bond by 20 years. It's a lot. It's a lot. In fact, Sheena predates Tarzan. There's another one for you as well. A lot of people don't know. I hate to use the Trump term. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, Sheena actually predates Tarzan. But the...
Well, you didn't just learn that. That's usually his code for I just learned this.
I know.
A lot of people don't know this, that Lincoln was a Republican. Dude, what?
Who the fuck didn't know that?
No, you didn't know that.
I'm an Australian and I knew
Exactly.
that. I mean, I know. And the other thing too, when he talks about, Republicans are were pro-emancipation and the Democrats were anti. Well, first of all, there is some truth to that, but that was in 1860 fucking 2. It's now 2020.
That's because...
you can't relate the two things.
Back then, the Republicans were the liberals then, and the Democrats were the conservatives. That's the difference. Because, most people don't know that.
In fact, before the Civil War...
And I say that a lot of people don't.
Well, before the Civil War, you didn't even have the Democrats. You had the Whigs. The fucking Republicans and the Whigs. How many Americans know that there used to be a third party called the Whigs?
I doubt if they know that. I actually just looked up some stuff on the Whig Party the other day because I've been working on some articles. And I've got an article that I've been working on for a long time, and it's probably going to be a multi-part article talking about progressivism and how when it was brought to light, people started becoming progressives. It was in a time when systematic racism was just the fucking norm. And when people talk about now, a lot of the progressives that have been in our politics seem to dismiss people of color a lot and how they don't really resonate with people of color. There's a reason for that. It's because the policies were put in place at a time when they weren't interested in giving a shit about people of color. it was about poor white people. And what we have to do is to be able to step back and take a look at where those policies came from, how they were brought to bear, and how we can take that then and expand the base in progressivism to actually be inclusive of people of color. Because right now, and I think you saw, and probably if you paid attention, and I'm not saying you specifically because of course you're in Australia, maybe I don't know if you noticed, but I think a lot of people have noticed that there are some of the progressive leaders in this country who, even though they have people of color who are promoting their campaigns, the policies behind what they're doing do not benefit people of color in the same ways they benefit people who are white. And until we actually start looking at that realistically and really start doing our own self-audit, it's really, really difficult to point the finger at others who are saying that and say that they are racists. Because I think we have to take a look at our own progressive policies and see how it's not that they intend to be racist, but to say that economic equality is a direct result of racism is the truth. But saying racism is a direct result of economic equality is not. And that's where they come from right now. They come from a place of saying that economic inequality causes racism. That's actually not true. Racism causes economic inequality for people of color. Mm-hmm. And it's because white people perpetuate that, even progressives. And so as a white progressive person who has for the last 10 years been moving from a place of being kind of a, I guess, as I look back at myself, kind of a more conservative liberal, moving forward and really challenging myself, I've had to actually realize that as I've become more progressive, and I'm not saying the liberals aren't the same way because it's even worse, it's more centrist, we have to understand how all of our politics have been based really, really around very white-centric ideologies, and how we have to look more at changing how we view things and how we create our laws and the policies that we think are great for everybody because they're great for us. They're not great for everybody. They're great for white people who are progressives. And it makes us feel good to say we care about people of color and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, maybe we intend to. But the policies that have been put in place with our actual politics that we've been perpetuating through all this time, there's a reason why it only resonates with white people. Or to the max extent, not only, I shouldn't say only, because that's not true. But, I mean, there were Jews that helped the Nazis too. And I don't mean to say that in a way that makes it seem like black people who help white progressives are Nazis, or Jews that help the Nazis. But there are people who often look at something and think that it might be in their best interest, but it really is detrimental to them as a group. I think progressive policies are great. I do. But I think that they hurt people in a way we don't understand sometimes. And we have to really do a self-audit to see that we are not perpetuating ideologies from the early 20th century when nobody looked at black people as being the same as white people. And they're the fucking same, except they have a different culture because we forced that for them. We forced them to have a different culture by separating them from us. And I think that that's really sad too. And I applaud their entire culture. And I understand now how fucking hard it's been to be in this country. And I just still grieve over those of us who thought we were doing good and were perpetuating things that maybe weren't the best. So I have this article that's coming out, and it's going to be really long. So I hope people will listen to it.
No, please. Absolutely.
It's hard. It's been really, really hard for me to work on this. It's been hard. I've been very upset at myself, and I've been upset in general.
Well,
it's hard.
Well, what I was going to say is it links to, actually, back to the martini and what I was talking about, how one of my no, it is. I don't want everyone to run off and buy razor blades right now and do themselves in the bathtub. So I just, you know what I mean.
I don't have that kind of power, sweetheart. I don't have that kind of power.
No, so because obviously being in quarantine where you can't leave the house, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. Even my nephew went to visit my my parents. Okay, so his grandparents. Yeah. And I said to them, how the fuck, because they don't live like in the city I live in, right? And I said, how the hell did he leave the city? Like, how did he get permission to go past the police and army roadblocks which have fucking surrounded the city, right? And I said, how did you? And he said, I contacted the doctor, and the doctor said he needed some time off. And I said, is that all bullshit?
What the fuck?
Right?
We all need time off.
Right, and apparently my father said, yeah, apparently the doctor said where he was going was totally safe and he was clear, so yeah, it was all bullshit. So, anyway, I probably shouldn't have said that. I really probably shouldn't have said that. Anyway,
bleep it when you go back. Just bleep it.
Yeah, but it's... I just thought it was funny, but I probably shouldn't have said it. Anyway, especially too, there was a woman in fucking Ballarat, okay, in Australia, who posted on her Facebook all this, defy the government, don't wear a mask, don't do this, it's all bullshit, you know, praise Hitler, and she wasn't actually saying that, but I'm sure she would have if she had a chance. And anyway, so she's carrying on. Well, first, the next video that came up was from her husband, which was the police raiding the house, saying, hello, madam, you're under arrest for inspiring conspiracy to... I forgot what the thing was, and they arrested her. Because she was telling people to openly break the law on Facebook. She put out a video saying, I want people to do what? So the police turned up and arrested her, which means they're actually watching your Facebook. They're actually watching your Facebook.
I don't think that at all.
That's really, really interesting. As Australians, I don't think we've ever really thought about the idea that, shit, people are actually, like, the police are watching our social media. I don't actually think they are. I think what happens if a video goes viral, they're made aware of it.
Then they look at it, yeah.
I think that's more to the point. I think if this woman had said what she did on Facebook, and only 5 people reacted, I don't think anything would have happened. It was because she got something like 200,000 views. Do you know, that's what I think was the problem. But here's the argument. Oh, I'm changing the subject. I was talking about the fucking Bond books I was reading. Okay, I'm going to take notes down.
You know, it's hard not to go back to this shit that's very serious.
So I'm going to write down internet. All right.
I said I had to take notes.
Okay, but I was going to finish off. I was reading the Bond books, okay, and so I decided I was going to read them in order, because I thought that would be the best way. So I ordered them in, because everything at the moment is fucking online ordering. And so I started with Casino Royale, which of course is the very first Bond book. Read that, and fuck me, I loved it. Ian Fleming is not the world's greatest writer. I'll be honest with you, he's not. Okay, he's not. He's a third-rate writer. Okay, he just came up with a very clever idea. But he's a third-rate writer.
Right.
Third-rate, that's not quite correct. Second-rate. He's better than me, though. Okay? So he's better than me. So now, the man Ian Fleming...
somebody in my life would have said, how many novels have you written?
You've written, I know. Now, the man Ian Fleming himself is an amazing man with an amazing fucking life. I mean, they've made several movies about his life alone, let alone the character he created, James Bond. So... but anyway, so I read the first one, and they were talking about being in Casino Royale, and and he was describing the game of Baccarat as they were playing, as the cards were being dealt. And I often don't get drawn in when I'm reading to it's like being held on every word. You know what I mean? Like every word is drawing me in deeper. And this was when he was describing the actual card game. And anyway, so I read that. So I thought, all right, let's move on to novel number 2, which is Live and Let Die. Now, Live and Let Die is very interesting because, of course, it's the Bond novel, and, of course, it was the Bond movie with literally an all-black cast, except for about 3 people. It had an all-black cast, so quite different. Set in both the West Indies and in Florida. Now, is it Florida or one of the coastal southern states? Anyway, in the book it's Florida. Anyway, now what I was stunned when I was reading, I'm only about 2/3 of the way through it at the moment. I haven't seen how it ends yet in the book. Anyway, I know how the movie ends. Wow, racism incorporated is all I can say. I'm stunned.
So common.
Well, it's okay. Now, I'll be very careful how I say this. I don't think this is going to be offensive. Whenever, you know how you just said, Bob said, Paul said, there's a conversation. When you're reading that, you don't, in every single way that the conversation is going in a book, you don't write a book the way a child writes a story, where it's he said, she said, he said, she said, he said, she said. You know, it's not like that. You can follow a conversation as it's been spoken.
Yeah.
The problem is he doesn't do that. Every time a black man speaks, he uses the term the Negro said.
Oh, Lord.
Right? I'm not joking when I say this. I'm being very, very serious.
No, I understand.
When a white person
speaks, what you're saying.
He never says the white woman said, but it's always the Negro said. And I'm reading it, and I've got to admit, although I have to admit the story is actually quite good. It's got me drawn in. I like it.
Yeah.
And also the way Ian Fleming describes Bond's attitude of the black race, for want of a better word, black people, is really, really interesting. There is almost an ideology that they are not as intelligent as white people.
Oh.
Now,
I guess that was the way to portray people of color in the past.
But here's the thing which is interesting about it. He talks about Asian people, and he will go on to do that in another book called, the one set in Japan. I forgot what it is. And also Man with the Golden Gun. And he will talk about Asian people in a very different way. He will talk about Chinese and Japanese people as being incredibly intelligent, switched on. So
because stereotypes.
But that's the thing. I'm not too sure.
He based that shit on stereotypes.
Because that's the thing. You know, it's like, and it also makes me wonder, because the man retired basically to Jamaica. It's like, my wife left her. My wife, what's the old joke? My wife left me. Where'd she go? Jamaica. No, she left on her own accord. That's an old fucking joke. Anyway, that's a very old fucking joke.
Never been to Jamaica.
Yeah,
I'd like to go to Jamaica.
But you wonder whether he was influenced maybe by the fact that he only associated with expat British and maybe a few French in Jamaica, and the black Jamaicans that he dealt with were the pool boys, the poor people, the waiters.
So it's colonialism. It's
colonialism, yeah.
He was in the middle of that. I mean, honestly, okay, there's a movie by Shirley Temple that I love, okay, The Little Princess, all right? Yep.
Is that where she dances with the...
she dances, it's like this minstrel fucking dance, and she does this whole thing. Yeah. There's this, and they're set in very obviously colonial India, and she's got a lot of money in the beginning of it, and like there's this whole thing, and Like, I get it. I understand why it's a fucking problem. It was the time period. And again, those things were made for white people going to the movies. And I think we have, and reading books, because they assumed black people weren't going to do that. It's the stereotypes. It's the stereotype of the very intelligent Asian person with the tiny penis, and the very, very, because women weren't included in intelligent Asian people, let's be honest. They were, they weren't virile, but they were super smart. And then the black men, they were very dumb, but they had large dicks. I mean, like, that's literally what they were trying to say. And they were also super good entertainers, which sometimes, honestly, in media bothers me, why every single show in the past, and I'm not saying now, because thank God it's turned a corner, but it used to be that every single show you'd see that was black-centric on TV was this kind of obnoxious minstrel type of comedy show that put black people in a goofy, weird comedy light, because it seemed to be the only way that white people would accept them. Do you know, on TV, Britain, and it still to this day just fucking pisses me off.
Do you know, in Britain, even
if you ever see the new shows now?
Oh, do you know, in Britain, I'm pretty sure it's Britain. This may have been copied from America. I don't know, but do you know, in Britain in the 1970s, there was still a show broadcast on the BBC, right, called the Black and White Minstrel Show. This is the 1970s, late 1970s, the Black and White Minstrel Show. Yes, the even Australian TV. Only
white people.
Well, yeah, it is Australia though. It is.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it's white.
But it's also. But you've got to be careful when people sort of say, "Oh, Australia," it's a bit like, well, it's like saying Norway. It's like, yeah, Australia, a bit like Norway, is fucking 97% white. I'm sorry, but we can't help it. We like it's just
no. It's your British history that's the problem, not necessarily the lack of melanin. Okay,
I mean,
it's the British.
The black population. The African Australian. There you go. That's a word you don't hear very often, do you? African Australians.
Black.
There's a slight differentiation in Australia, because what's black? Because you've got African Australians and you've got Indigenous Australians, Aboriginals. They're not the same. Well, they've got darker skin, but then so do Indian Australians. It's not a competition. The thing is, their culture is very different.
Because we brought people here from another country.
Oh, well, see, we never did that.
Yeah,
we brought British convicts here, British slaves, and Irish, a lot of Irish slaves as well too. Yeah, a lot of people forget that. We
got a lot of white people there.
Well, if it's often been said, the Australian accent, one of the reasons why it sounds the way it does is it's very heavily influenced by the Irish accent.
That doesn't surprise me, actually. I think that's why I fall into it so easily when we're talking, because we've talked about the fact that I have involuntary, spontaneous phonetic accommodation issues. Well, and when I speak to you, I already have a real problem picking up Celtic, especially accents. But yeah, when I hear yours, I have a tendency to mimic it unintentionally. So I have to watch that. But it's probably because it relates back to like the Irish dialect.
Yeah, it's yes. In fact, the first attempt at the Civil War, where I think 100 men stood on one side of the field and 100 men stood on the other side of the field and decided they would have a civil war, was kind of Irish versus English.
In Australia, really?
Yeah, that's Australia.
Yeah, well.
But mind you, it was before Australia was a nation.
My people like to fight.
We then had the Eureka. We then had the Eureka Stockade, as referred to, but it was what was called the Eureka Revolution. It was an attempt to overthrow the government in the city of Ballarat. Interestingly enough, the same city of that woman we were talking about, but we'll get back to her, where they actually tried to overthrow the government and form a new free, non-British Australian government, led by a man called Peter Layla. Peter Layla led the rebellion. A few things went wrong because it was done on the. Are you interested? Should I be telling his story or?
Yeah.
Well,
please, because I told you before, people don't know a lot of Australian history.
Okay, well, it was the third attempt at a coup, if you like, against the government. The very first one was in Sydney when Governor Bligh was removed from office. Yes, the same Bligh from Mutiny on the Bounty.
I was going to say
it was the same man.
Is it what?
It was the same man.
Really?
Yes, it was the second time he was overthrown. Yes, I'm not joking. It's the same man. It's the same man. The same man
that was a fictional character.
No. Well, he had his ship taken by him by Fletcher Christian. That's what formed. Was it Norfolk Island?
I didn't know that was a real story.
Yeah, I
honestly did not know that was a true story.
Oh, fucking Bligh is now an Australian kind of icon because he's so linked into Australia. He basically, because Fletcher Christian and the rebels on the ship, and I have to admit, I actually side with Bligh in regards to Mutiny on the Bounty. Forget the fucking movies, okay? Bligh did nothing wrong.
Well, movies are movies.
Bligh did nothing fucking wrong. That was a whole heap of anti-British and Irish sailors who got there. Basically decided they didn't want to go home. All right, that it was.
What are you trying to say, man? Yeah, because women without shirts on, why not?
Well, it's often been said. It has been said. I know, but it has been said that the bounty mission it's never truly been explained why it went without Royal Marines. Now, if that mission had gone with Royal Marines, it has been argued that the mutiny on the Bounty never would have happened. It was the whole reason why Marines were on fucking ships to keep discipline. And that ship left Britain to go to the South Pacific with no fucking Marines, no one to keep discipline. It was insane why they did it. But anyway, so he was... Anyway, we all know the story of Mutiny on the Bounty. I'm not going to go down that. But yes, the same man...
And if you haven't, then at least watch the movie. If you don't know the story, at least watch the movie.
The movie's a load of shit, but anyway. Well, actually, no, I'll rephrase that.
At least you get the gist.
The movie actually with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins from the 1980s or early 90s, I think. It's actually a really good film. Do not get me wrong. It's actually a brilliant fucking film. It really is good. However,
I don't know.
It's not necessarily overly true. And the other thing too is that it doesn't take into account, like, you can say, oh, it's so brutal. The men were treated so brutally. They were treated like princes compared to how other people were treated at the same time. It's got to be put into context, and I think that's the thing that I hate when things are taken out of context. When you put 1990s values onto something from 1840.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
agree with that.
Yeah. But anyway, so he was then given the governorship of New South Wales, what was then New South Wales, and he lived in Sydney. He was a governor. Now, he wanted to control what was called rum. Now, rum in Australia was basically code for anything that's called alcohol. It wasn't actually rum. It was anything that was alcohol. Because there was not a prohibition as such, but there was taxation on alcohol. And everyone was brewing with their own stills, whatever potato mash and corn mash or whatever they could do. And Australians... The problem was, a lot of these people were ex-fucking convicts who had now got their freedom. They were trying to build businesses. They didn't want to be controlled. And there was a certain man called MacArthur, who was a bit of a cunt, to be honest. Well, sorry, it was a bit of a prick. It was a bit of a prick.
That word doesn't bother me.
Sorry, everyone's got to remember, I'm Australian. I'm not American. My words don't work the same way, and I know Americans find that offensive. I'm sorry. All right.
I'm American. I don't find it offensive.
Okay. Well, Anyway, so the thing was that he had his finger in half of these stills. Also, he wanted free land. In other words, he wanted to be given land for free. He didn't want to buy it from the government, right? So the government would take the land and then sell it to people who wanted it. So that's why governments make money, right? It's called taxation. Well, the problem was MacArthur was an arrogant sod. He was a bit of a Trump, okay, of his time. And he thought that he should get all the land he wanted for free. He shouldn't have to pay for it. So he inspired with the army because the army were the ones who were running what they called sly grog. That's what it's called in Australia, which is under the table alcohol, right? No taxation.
Okay.
And he convinced them that they were losing too much money. So, collectively, they overthrew the government, right? So they overthrew Governor Bligh and they declared, we're in charge. It lasted 24 hours and then they put Governor Bligh back in charge again because they suddenly realised, holy shit, we've just become terrorist traitors. And so they quickly put him back on... I think. But yes, it really happened. They overthrew the government because of the price of alcohol and free land. Yeah, anyway.
We had our whole revolution because of some tea that was taxed in the harbor. So, people here now don't like people who are protesting. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, don't violently protest. You know what? That's kind of how we became a country.
Well,
so I'm just gonna say,
well, the best thing is,
I am all for a guillotine in the public square. That's what I'm all for right now.
After that, okay, in Ballarat, and we'll get back to this woman from Ballarat eventually. Was that there was a man called Peter Lalor in the goldfields, and that's where the term digger comes from. That's why Australian soldiers are called diggers. They're named diggers after the miners of the Victorian goldfields, mainly around Ballarat and Bendigo. And anyway, you had to buy a license to mine gold. And most of them were pretty poor and all the rest of it. And they couldn't afford... The licenses were worth a small fortune, okay? So they couldn't afford it. And the police at the time were... Well, let's be honest. They were fucking the mercenaries of their time. They were hired thugs, okay? And... I'm not saying the people who ran the police were like that, but your average copper was not the brightest spark, out there. And so anyway, and so they, well, I'm talking about in Australia, not in America, right? So they treated the miners horribly, absolutely terribly. And so the miners decided that, fuck this, we're going to form our own revolution and overthrow the government of Victoria. Well, so they created their own army, fully armed, rifles, pistols, the whole lot, okay? And it was quite big, several hundred people, it was pretty big. The problem was then about 20% of their contingent, who were the American miners, they had... Let's just say the American ambassador to Victoria had got to them and they were told, you don't want to join this, guys. You don't want to join this. And they didn't. They mysteriously didn't show up when the battle happened. What they then did was that the government decided to send the army in at like 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning when all of the fucking rebels had hangovers from the night before because it was Saturday night, okay? They stormed in, and it was like the Alamo. It was over in fucking 10 minutes. It was so quick. They stormed it, and they were in it, and they won. But Peter Lalor was shot, had to have his arm amputated because he was shot, because that's what they did in those days. You just amputated the limb if you were shot. So he was shot, had his arm... A couple of years later... But this is the thing. He was then put up for trial with everybody else. And you know what? They were all found innocent. The jury found them all innocent because they were so sick themselves of the government, they couldn't find a jury that would convict them.
Right.
And then Peter Lalor went on to become a member of Parliament and run the fucking country. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, Bond
Why
books.
are you always apologizing?
No, I'll shut up. I've been talking too much.
Read the Bond books.
Your turn.
What?
Yeah, yes, do. But I was just saying that I really did find that I loved Casino Royale. And even though I'll be honest with you, I am cringing a little bit when I'm reading Live and Let Die, but I'm still loving the story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also loving the fact that Mr. Big, the fact that he's so powerful, like his crime syndicate is absolutely amazing, and I'm loving the story. But anyway, enough of me. I've been talking too much.
That's actually cool.
I've been talking too much. So
have you?
Yeah, I have. No one,
you say that a lot.
That's because people want to listen to you. They want to listen to you. They don't want to listen to me.
You're so full of shit. What the hell are you saying?
They fucking do. They fucking do. I'm the psychic. I'm just there. Was it like Abbott and Costello? It's like, hey, but.
Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I have a few fans. I'm fine with that. Okay, but it's not like people are like hanging on my every word, so please don't do that to me. Or I'm going to have to drink another shot, and then we're all going to be sorry.
We'll probably take a break.
Half of one I had a little while ago. It's too much.
Well, we'll probably take a break, actually, if that's all right, and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
But something else I wanted to talk about. Do you know, we didn't talk about the fact that there was the RNC and the DNC over the last couple of weeks, because we haven't been on air. We didn't mention that. And also, we haven't mentioned what happened to the Conways.
Why are you going to make me talk about them?
Well, I find them.
Exactly.
I find them fascinating. I've no respect for them, but I find them fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. But also, it is Donald Trump Jr. and his girlfriend cocaine addicts. And also, it is Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend. Is she the fucking reincarnation of Mussolini? I mean,
that's Trump. She might be Hitler.
No, but
she might be Hitler, but Trump is Mussolini.
She even looks a bit like Mussolini. You have a look at her. She even looks a bit like Mussolini.
I try not to look at that bitch.
No, but seriously, have a look at her.
I can't.
And have a look at Mussolini.
No.
They even look like they're from the same family. No, I can't make you.
You can't make me look at her.
Tim Tam? What if I gave you Tim Tam? No? Tim Tams?
You know I only have the dark chocolate ones left.
Oh, yeah, they're the best. They're the best ones. The dark chocolate ones are the best.
Noah ate all of the double dipped, okay? So I just want you to know. Yeah, and okay. I said to him, yeah, okay, so, but see, I'm a kind of a purist. I do like the originals the best out of all of them. Okay. Just like with Oreo cookies. Yep. I don't want the double stuffed. I used to really, really love the fudge dipped. Not so much anymore. I really just like the regular original style Oreos. It's the perfect ratio of cream filling to chocolate cookies. And yeah, so I'm a little upset with him for eating all of my double dipped ones. But I had decided I'm fine with just the bit of the dark chocolate ones I have left, because I have one package of dark chocolate left. But yeah, I probably gained 20 pounds on those, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Have you done a Tim? But have you? I haven't asked you yet. Have you done a Tim Tam Slam yet?
I don't know what that means, Warren.
Okay. We will take a break
and
we'll come back.
Tim Tam or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take a break and we'll come back and talk about the great Australian tradition called the Tim Tam Slam.
Yeah, please inform me. I need to know.
Do it. It involves alcohol, so it's cool. All right. Everything in Australia involves alcohol somehow or other. Even our fucking revolutions involve fucking involve
Yeah,
alcohol.
I knew that was my place, man.
Do you know the first unit of the Australian Army was nicknamed the Rum Corps? It was even named after fucking
I did not
booze.
know that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're just fucking obsessed with alcohol. Anyway, mind you, I'd rather be obsessed with alcohol than war, so,
Yeah, no shit, right?
Anyway, all right, we will be right back.
Okay.
And we are back. And yet, no, before we left, we mentioned what the fuck is going on at the Conway residence.
Oh god.
Yeah. Let's not dwell on it. I mean, to be honest with you, but do you reckon? We talked about this a little bit. Do you reckon this whole thing has just been a giant con, which their daughter is either one so sick of now she's called them out and they've had to give it up, or two, she's part of it and she was meant to be that pull the pin moment where they could jump out before the election went to hell?
Well, okay. One, yes, I hope it's that. Because honestly, I don't wish what I think is the psychological damage going on with their daughter. I don't wish that on anybody. If the case is, as this 15-year-old girl has stated, that her mother is a sociopath and she wants to be emancipated, if that was actually the case.
Although she doesn't speak highly of the father either. She says her father's
she said she's endured a lifetime of psychological and physical abuse. Okay, if that's the case, if that's truly the case, then I would understand why this young lady was starting to speak out. Because you think about it, if she's 15 now, when Trump was elected and Kellyanne Conway took this job, she was probably 12. Okay.
Yeah.
As you get to be about 15, you start to notice more than you did when you were 12. I, on one hand, really hope that she is being honest and sincere when she talks about, not that I wish that she had a family that was abusive. I hope, though, that she's being an honest and sincere person. I hope that her family, being who her mother is and who I believe her father probably is, did not rope her into some sort of grift. I don't know. I would like to believe that she's a young lady that was actually reaching out for help, and then they said, you know what, you're right. But see, here's the thing. George Conway said, dealing with family issues, he was going to get off the internet for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, and stop dealing with the Lincoln Project and this stuff. But he hasn't. He's been right back in there.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's back
I didn't realize.
online. And I haven't blocked on my 2 accounts, but I do see people retweeting him and stuff, even though I don't see his actual tweets unless I go click on them.
Yeah.
I do see him being tagged, and people talking about it. I would like to hope that the majority of the people that think like I do are not so easily fooled by some gullible, grifty bullshit, in the same way that I don't hate James Carville or anything, but if you think about it, the relationship he has with his wife, where she was this, super conservative person, and he's this very, very non-conservative person, going out on the airways and stuff like that, I feel like it's kind of a little game. Okay? Because otherwise, how the fuck are you guys together? There's times when people in my life say things and I just look at them sometimes and just go, what in the fuck? And I just don't know that I would have the type of relationship that they supposedly have if our differences were so blatant. I'm going to say his wife, though, is more like an old-style Republican than a Trumpist, but still, and you don't see her really out there, and you don't see him out a lot. I still think it's the same kind of thing. I think it's a way for them both to get the attention. I don't trust George, and I don't trust Kellyanne. Well, I hope that their daughter isn't being dragged into it, but you never fucking know.
But this
All I
brings
know
up,
is that they both need to just go. They need to leave.
yeah, I agree.
Go somewhere. Not be in the public sphere anymore.
I agree with that. But it brings
Yeah.
up the idea that why is it it seems to me anyway, and I just wanted to get your opinion on this, that in America, you can't be friends with somebody who votes differently to you. Is that true, or is that just a media fallacy?
I have at least one friend, okay, from my early years in high school in Nashville, where they have different ideologies than I do. I don't know if they're going to vote for Trump because I don't ask them. They've never once come out and said anything negative or racist or anything like that. I feel like maybe they're the kind of person that might be conservative no matter what, but we don't have that kind of relationship. And to be honest with you, I don't want to know, because there's been people in my life that have come out and blatantly said to me things that were extremely supportive of Trump, and I have, and these are not my immediate family members. Immediate family members, they're harder, you know, but people in my family that, and friends that I've had for 30 years, I have cut them straight the fuck up out of my life, because what I have realized is that if they can spew the things that they're saying to me, if their thought process can be what it is when they're saying these things to me after everything that's happened, then we are not compatible. That I do not want that person in my life. That I think they are either so fucking ignorant that they would believe these things and spout them back to others, or they would be such a horrible human being, because to me, those are the only two options, you know, that they would spew back to these horrible things. I've cut them out of my life, but this person who, and I'm going to be honest with you, they've been smart enough to keep their shit to themselves, as I have when we've had personal interactions. I think you can be friends, but I think the problem is you can't discuss things that are happening contemporaneously right now. Because I think if you do, you find things about the other person, one side or the other, that you might find contemptible.
See, this is something that I find fascinating about the United States, because if you
it didn't used to be like this.
Well, this is why I find it fascinating. If you go to Australia, if you go to Canada, New Zealand, Britain, if someone says they vote Conservative, I'll use American terms here to make life easy, all right, rather than using political party names. If you vote Conservative or you vote Progressive, right?
Right.
It's irrelevant to who you know. I personally know husbands and wives who vote differently to each other. One of my best friends in the world has a very different view on politics to me. My parents have a very different view to me, to my granddaughter. I will endlessly be at functions or barbies or parties where people will sort of say, oh, well, the government's done this, and someone else will say, oh, yeah, but that's all crap. And then someone will sort of say, have another snag. Yeah, no worries, here's a beer. No worries. They don't care. It's conversation more than... It's not hatred. No one hates the other side. They disagree with them, but they don't hate them. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I don't... And if you go to Britain, it's much the same. Labour person disagrees with a Conservative and vice versa, but they don't hate each other. They be friends, right? They hang out together. It's not a big deal. Same in Canada, same in New Zealand, right? It's not a big deal. But in America, for some reason, if you're a Trumpist or you're a Bidenist, or in other words, Republican, Democrat, you cannot be friends. What the fuck?
I'm not...
Like, what is going on?
Well, Warren, I'm going to just say to you, I'm voting for Biden, but I'm not a Bidenist. I don't know what that means.
Yes, that's why I rephrased it to say Democrat.
So yeah, I'm a Democrat because we have a two-party system. I know that voting for a third party is a fucking waste of my vote, and because there's never going to be enough people that are on the fringe to vote for somebody on the fringe. And let's be honest, any third party candidate or any other candidate other than our two party system is going to be on the fringe at this point.
Unless you get
unless
you get an Australian voting system where
we don't have a parliament, honey. No, we don't have parliament. That's not going to happen here. Okay, so right now, if you don't vote for Biden, you're basically giving one more vote to Trump. If you vote for anybody other than Biden, if you vote for Trump and you don't vote for somebody else, it's the same thing. Okay, we have a two-party system.
No, I get that.
And until any third-party candidate can come through with the types of numbers, then voting for them is a fucking waste because they're extremists. And I've said before, honestly, extremism is the fucking problem. I'm not a centrist. I'm way more left than I am in the center, but I'm pragmatic. And I know people say pragmatic progressives can't exist, but that's bullshit. Okay? What I understand, and we've talked about this last week, and we didn't post it because I got too drunk, and I'm trying not to do that again, is that what we are doing here in the country is I'm
keeping serious subjects light. That's all right. We're going. No, keep going.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Right?
No,
here's my attempt to keep it light with an analogy.
No. Serious is good. Serious is good.
No,
not
I'm
5
just saying,
hours
I'm
of
trying to keep
seriousness.
it
You
light.
know. Yeah.
With my analogy is that okay, it's like we're baking a cake. Okay.
Yeah.
I want the cake to be this beautiful, multi-tiered, gorgeous creation at the end of it. The thing that I pictured in my head and how it's perfect. But right now, the thought of focusing on what the frosting on the cake is going to look like is pointless when I'm still trying to keep rat shit out of the batter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, fuck me. I hear you. No, I so hear you. Really fucking hear you. Yes.
I just want the foundation of our country to be decent. And right now, we can't do anything extra. We have to fix the shit that has been exposed to us as being broken already. Now, I agree. We need Medicare for all, and not just Medicare for all, which is a great idea in my opinion, but there's so many other prospects for how you can do universal health care for people. It's not just Medicare for all. It's not the only option. There's
ask the Australian government how you do it. It's fucking simple.
Yeah, I mean, we can absolutely do this. And the thing is that we can do all the things that we need to do in this country, and they keep pretending like we can't. The money isn't here and the money isn't there, but we have trillions of dollars to fucking throw at billionaires and the military industrial complex and stuff like that. And I'm not saying we don't need to defend our country. I absolutely fucking believe we do, especially when we've been creating enemies at the rate we are under the Trump administration and the Bush administration and all that shit. And I'm not saying Obama was without fault. He was by far and away, in my opinion, the best president we've had in my lifetime. But he was definitely not without fault. He did the best he could in the situation he had.
Well, he was a human being. He was a person.
Well, I do.
You know what I mean? He was a human.
Well, okay, well, so's everybody except Rudy Giuliani, which we've discussed.
Well, and Ben Shapiro. We have Nosferatu and the Garden Gnome. So
you're right. There's also Cheeto Mussolini, but he's probably a human. Although
dead.
I think he
doesn't count. He's dead.
No, I said Cheeto Mussolini.
Who's Cheeto?
Okay,
Mussolini?
Tangerine. Really?
Oh, Cheeto Mussolini. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry. It was very vague. I just thought it was a term that used, so it would have been sillier for me to say it. Anyway, I just feel like. Overall, as a country, we have a lot to accomplish. I'm pretty drunk right now.
No, that's okay. But what I really want to get to is that why, in the United States, is can you has this simply been such a divide which has come where Obama came along and far righters couldn't accept a black person as president, and then Trump came along and Democratic liberals couldn't accept a fascist being in charge, and so you've now got to a stage collectively where either side refuses to be friends. I mean, is that what's kind of happened?
Oh, we are okay. Well, I guess if that's
just
we
what
are
I'm trying to say
polarized.
is that
it basically is. There is no way at this point in our country for any of us to look at the other one as being decent, because somehow on the right they've convinced each other that we are all ready to destroy America and kill God and do all these things. But on our side, we're pretty fucking sure that they're going to take away a woman's right to choose, and they're going to give us authoritarian rule, and Trump wants to actually be a king, and all these things that are happening where we see actually on our side, and I know I'm being biased here because I'm on the left, but I literally see actual physical things happening in our country to keep us from being able to fight against this authoritarianism, this fascism that is growing ever presently in our country. And it's the divide, it's the ignorance, it's the division that has been being built in our country between the two sides, especially since Obama was elected, because what happened then was it wasn't just about Democrat versus Republican. It was literally white conservative people, and we discussed this earlier in our conversation, about them freaking the fuck out about anybody else maybe having power. Now, they like to use any black person that reaches any sort of level in our country as a way to say, look, black people are doing great, and we're not racists, and this isn't a racist society, because look at these 15 people that have done so well, even though we've killed 620 of them. You know what I'm saying? When they said with Obama being elected, they said, and they keep claiming this, is that racism was erased in our country. And the proof of that is that Obama was elected not once, but twice. Okay. The proof of the fact that there isn't any racism in America was the fact that this black man, who was, let's be honest, half black. All right. But any
my
drop
mother
of blood
keeps
in our
saying
country,
every fucking minute.
Well, and then, that's the thing that white people say too. Even if he was successful, it's because he had half.
It's because he was half white. He was, I know.
Exactly, and that's what's disgusting. Yeah. But here in our country, I'm sorry, if you have one drop of black blood, they considered you black, and therefore 3/5 of a human being. So how do you overcome that in a society that has continued to perpetuate that mindset over and over and over again throughout history? It doesn't matter that Obama was elected. It was great that he was elected. I was excited when he was elected. But what it really did in the end was foment the racism, brought it to light, brought it to bear. People like Trump and his fucking disgusting honeypot wife, who were the original birthers in our country. Yep. Claiming that because Obama's father was from Kenya, therefore he had lived, his mother had been married to a man who lived in another country, and they had been in a Muslim country.
Did you see
all these things, therefore he wasn't an American. It didn't matter if he was born in fucking Hawaii. It's like, you guys realize this is just goddamn racism.
Did you even see he even pushed that point with Kamala Harris? In a press conference,
I didn't watch it. I saw clips, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
It's interesting. Yeah. I think he's been advised, Mr. President, don't go down that path. Like
I hope he fucking does, man.
But no,
people need to understand this.
I think he tried it. Like, he gave it a go. Like, at the press conference, it's a bit like, many people are saying, like he always does. Many people are saying, is she actually a citizen? I don't know. The lawyers.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what he always. But this is the way the Trump speak words. Many people are saying the lawyers will have to look into it. I don't know. And it's a little bit like, well, if you don't know, and the lawyers need to look into it, why the fuck are you even talking about it? Now, first of all, everybody knows she's an American citizen born in the United States because her parents, or one parent, was an illegal immigrant.
An American citizen.
But that doesn't change the point. Doesn't change the point. What my terms?
It doesn't matter if they were an illegal.
What I mean
is, the thing is that here it doesn't matter.
Yeah, she meets the requirement. In other words, she was born in the United States. That's all that matters. That's all the fucking your constitution or whatever it is says, right? So, but I think he very quickly shut up on that because I think they would have been playing that far more if they thought that it was real, and I think that he was advised very quickly after he made those comments, Mr. President, we've got legal advice. You don't want to go down that path. Mr. President, please. You don't want to go.
Okay.
Because
Warren,
he did shut up about it very quickly.
Listen. I think you're putting too much emphasis on what he's been told.
Really?
He's not going to shut up I think he's not going to shut up about something like that because he learned it wasn't the truth. Okay? They moved on to other things. That's what happened. There was a backlash from the public. There was a backlash from the media. Therefore, they shut up and created another thing for us to focus on. Their whole thing, especially Trump, is keep everybody exhausted. Continuously put out more and more stuff where every single outrage is then overshadowed later that day or the next day by another fucking outrage. Therefore, nothing sticks. Nothing sticks in the people's minds, and you just move on. And the only outrage is the new outrage. The only offense is the new offense. And even the people, like the people who support him, and even people I know who say to me that they don't love him, but ellipses. And I think we all know what but means. It means ignore everything I just said. Now I'm going to tell you how I really feel. I
do support him. I just am saying this because
I'm making an excuse for him. I'm justifying this. You know, it's our country is super fucking broken right now, Warren, and it's not getting better.
Yeah, but oh no, sorry, finish.
I'm just gonna say I'm telling you right now, and again, people have called me an alarmist for years. And there are people even in my own household that I've said this to over and over again. They rolled their eyes at me and carried on and said how he was going to resign and he was going to do this and the other. He's not going to resign. He's going to lose the election unless for some reason Russia yet again hacks into our system, okay? Because they did it before. We're learning about it in trickles. But I'm telling you right now, there's no way that man won in the 3 states he went to at the last minute. He said, we won by 77,000 votes. He didn't say this, but the truth is they won by 77,000 votes across 3 states.
Yeah.
That they went to at the very last minute, okay, and one rally each, as if that was going to really put them over the fucking edge. Because I'm sorry, at that point in the election, you know who you're voting for, okay?
Well, but it's not.
It was is that it was a way to hide the changes in the vote tabulation systems, which are all online in those states and many other states. Without a paper trail, without a way to audit anything, there is no way to say for sure how many votes were changed. But if you start to look at the data of the votes and for a long time, a guy named Mike Farb here in the U.S. was doing that data, and I haven't seen him for a long time. I don't know what's going on with that stuff. But if you look at the actual numbers of the data, it's pretty fucking obvious that they changed votes in the tabulation systems in these counties. The only way Trump can win again, honestly, is if they cheat again and steal the election. And I know people don't want to say that's happening. I know you shouldn't say that because people won't have confidence in the vote. Fuck that. We need people to know that this is happening. What we really, really need is for people to go out in such a flood of our own country and to vote in such a flood against fascism, against the Republicans, against this kind of bullshit that's going on. Unless we do that, we're going to lose the election again. And there's going to be nothing we can do about it. There's going to be nothing we can do about it. Because if that happens, he's already started to destroy our checks and balances here that I was told my whole life we had to protect us from this exact shit. Nobody ever thought that an entire political party would be complicit in traitorous behavior. But here we are. Well, America is dying. And unless we come out in a flood to vote against it, it's going to win. They're going to win.
Okay. I will ask you a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do most people become spies?
I have no idea. It sounds like a cool job.
Well, okay. I mean an actual spy. I don't mean a service agent. I don't mean like
I still think it sounds like a cool job.
Right. No, because a spy is actually somebody who is a normal person who hands over intelligence to another side. So, in other words, they're an American who gives information to the Chinese. They're a German who gives information to the Russians.
Because their self-preservation is more important than humanity.
An intelligence officer is someone who runs them, right? That's what James Bond is. He's an intelligence officer, all right? An actual spy are those people, all right? Now, why do most people become spies? There are 3 reasons. 1, blackmail, because they've done something that they don't want to have got out. 2, money. 3, sex. What's happened there?
I'm going to say to you, it's probably not women looking for sex for information.
But what I'm trying to say is what's happened with the Senate, especially in the United States with Trump, they're spies. And I don't mean they're spies for Russia. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's the same logic. They're under the same thing. They've been hitched to a horse they cannot unlink themselves from anymore. And so they have to now go. They are the Nazi in the Battle of Berlin, which is, I can say that I don't support fascism. That won't stop a Soviet bullet. So I've got to pick up a rifle and fight. Because my city... That's the way they are, or at least that's the way they see themselves. That's maybe the better way, okay, to say. It's the way they see themselves. They can't unhitch from Trump. They're so linked now that they can't. What are they going to do? And the problem now is that if you get an individual who says, all right, I'm conservative, but I don't support the president, they get swamped by everybody else in the Kool-Aid brigade who will do everything they can to unbelievably get a Democrat elected. Surprisingly. I don't quite know how that works, but, fuck me. It's a little bit like, hey, we are Nazi Germany. We need an atomic bomb. Let's take our atomic scientists and strangle them with piano wire. That will help us. It's the same thing. You take the people you need and you isolate them. It makes no fucking sense. Look, I don't know. I can't explain your country in real terms.
No one can.
Because
no one can.
If you go to any other country, it doesn't work like yours does anymore. Like,
no,
we have differences, but we're friends.
Yes. I could be friends with my friend from high school that is completely different from me, and he comes and we have drinks here and we have a good time. But it's not. We don't talk about politics.
Yeah. It doesn't.
We don't. Yeah, he's not a racist. He's still just as different,
But here's the thing: in Australia, you can have your friend come around, and they can tell you about their politics, and you are so different. You're totally different, and you let them say what they think, and you say what you think. you shout at each other for 2 minutes, and then you pour another beer and you get on and you have a great time and you get on with your life. But that's the difference. What I don't understand is why America has gone to Yugoslav levels, is what I'm calling it. Yugoslav levels. Where, we all know what happened. Well, actually, some of us don't, because you're 20 years old.
I was going to say,
don't remember.
do we?
Because, oh my God, am I fucking old? Yeah, there was this little thing called the Yugoslavian Civil War, which created the Barrett's War, the fucking Bosnian War, what was the next one? I can't remember.
Almost say the Crusades. It wasn't that. No.
There were 3 fucking Kosovo, the Kosovo War. And then there was the Serbian Croatian War. Fuck me. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how many million people actually fucking died? Right. It was a really big deal, all because they couldn't agree on racial concepts and politics. That was what the Yugoslavian Civil War was about. Yeah, okay, people just say, oh, Warren, you don't know what you're talking about. It was so much more complex than that. Yes, it was. Of course it fucking was. But you break it down, the split up of Yugoslavia into Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, and the other 2 or 3 states that came from. Because I'm sorry I can't name every country in the fucking planet.
Oh, well, I'm insulted by that.
Okay, yeah, I know. Was the fact that you could not see eye to eye on race, religion, or politics, right? You couldn't make a compromise. And this is a very interesting argument, and this is something that you've got to be very careful, because Trumpists will probably use this. And that is that something like Tito, right, in Yugoslavia, was able to stabilize a group of people who were never meant to be one country. Yugoslavia was never meant to be one fucking country. It only became a country, after the First World War. It was falling apart, and Tito held it together. I don't know. Here's an argument. Should the United States be one country?
Oh, don't do that. No, we already tried that. We already tried that.
I'm seriously asking the question that should the United States actually be 2 countries?
No, Northern California wants to secede from our union, and so does everybody that doesn't like the liberals. Okay, they want us to secede from the country. No, I don't think we should. I think people should get their shit straight and get your head out of your ass and stop being so goddamn selfish and stop thinking about only the things that affect them personally and their fucking families, and start thinking about how things shouldn't happen to anybody, not just them. That's my problem. Unfortunately, human beings are a complex mix of people, like a complex species. Our brains work differently. Everybody's brain doesn't work the same way. When you say something, different areas of our brains light up. Some people get afraid by what you're saying. Other people get inspired by what you're saying. It's just, we're different. And no, I don't think we should be 2 different countries. And I don't think we should be splitting into 2 because of this. I think we need to get our shit straight. I'm just saying, I know some people think that, but honestly, I think those people who think that should get the fuck out of this country and go find somewhere else to live where they're happy, in a place where people are subjected, okay, if that's what they want. But here we're supposed to be a melting pot of people from all over the country. We're supposed to be American and something else too, and that's supposed to be great.
Canada?
That's supposed to be what makes us amazing. You know what? Canada is amazing. And you know what? They keep coming here and stealing our jobs. Not our low-paying jobs. They keep coming here and stealing our best jobs, all of our film and TV jobs. Okay? Well, because they are the people with the fucking talent. Okay?
But here's the thing. But this is what happens when you give free education, free health care to a population, and you don't racially vilify, you don't do all that other bullshit, you just let people, well, Canada's got some fucking problems though, don't get me wrong. The Francophile, okay, the Francophile fucking Anglo divide is fucking huge in Canada, right? So, you know, this idea that this country is totally unified is a fallacy. It's a big fucking fallacy. Also, racism in Canada. Fuck yes. Of course it exists. It's huge. Of course it does. It's like Australia. Of course it exists.
Yeah.
But in saying that, you've got a country which promotes pro-language. In other words, pro-multi-language, pro-ethnicity, multiculturalism, free education, although university is kind of not, well, you know what I mean. It's a bit like Australia. It's a pseudo-free education. Free healthcare.
Right.
You know, yes, they're such a threat. They're such a threat. Why are they such a threat? This is the thing that blows my mind. Americans say, oh, Canada, fucking communist Canada, they're such a threat. Yes, why are they a threat? Because they're a democracy. I thought you were the democracy, America. Well, yeah, but we don't like real democracy. You know?
Yeah, we like to talk about it.
Like to talk about it. It's like Jim Jeffries once said. America, land of the free. The country that has the highest incarceration level of any nation on Earth.
Well, we talked about why that is.
Right?
You know why that is.
Yeah, we spoke about it before, right? The highest incarceration level on the planet of any nation. Was nations are on the planet, so of course that makes sense. Anyway, but you call yourself the land of the free. As he said, in the Netherlands, you can smoke a joint while you have sex with a prostitute while a police officer films you. Yes.
That sounds brilliant. Yeah.
You, America, claim to be the land of the free. Are you seriously trying to compete with the Netherlands? I'm sorry. If you want to say you're the greatest country in the world, fine. That's your opinion. To say you're the most free? Fuck no. No fucking way. No way on the planet are you free. However, are you free? But this is the difference, see? In Holland, or the Netherlands, I should say, Holland is actually only a part of the Netherlands. I know that because I have Dutch friends, and I know that I'm not allowed to call it Holland anymore.
They're going to correct you, yeah.
Well, actually, I have to say this. The Dutch is so cool. They just go, whatever. They don't care. They're so fucking... like, the Dutch, I swear, the Dutch are the coolest, hippest people on the planet. Forget the Danish. I know the Danish are meant to be the hippest. Nah, the Dutch. The Dutch are just like, whatever, you know. It's like, I still have a Dutch friend. He sent me a message, actually, on Messenger. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years. And he sent me a message. He's quite a bit older than I am. And he sent me a message, actually, about a week ago. And he said, oh, Warren, we haven't spoken for so long. We must get back in touch. And I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we must do that, you know, when the quarantine is over. Absolutely, let's do that, you know, let's get back in touch. Now, this is a man, this is really fascinating, right? This guy, so he was born in Amsterdam, all right, moved to Australia after the Second World War. And he is embarrassed because he's embarrassed because he was born in Amsterdam, even though he's pro-Dutch, very pro-fucking Dutch, loves to speak, you know, the Dutch language whenever he can, because he was born during the Second World War, which means his birth certificate has a swastika on it.
Oh, yeah. I can see why he'd be,
Right, but it's his birth certificate. He can't, right?
No, he can't.
It's really, really fascinating. Like he says he has to live his life with, his life is stamped with a swastika.
Yeah.
And to him, he carries the burden of Nazism his whole life. And here's the thing. He's not a Nazi. He's a fucking... he's a Netherlander. Right?
Yeah.
Right? You know, from Holland. It's what do they say? Hollander. Not Netherlander. Hollander. Whatever the fuck they say. They've got so many fucking nations and things in Holland, I never understand it. Okay? It's just that part of the world. Amsterdam rules it, right? Okay. So...
Red light district forever.
They wear clogs. Their police ride fucking bicycles.
I have wooden
horses.
shoes. Let's not talk about it.
But it's fascinating, and he is so he still carries that. I remember him actually saying to me one night, you know, like he's so ashamed of his birth. Ashamed of his birth. That's interesting, actually. Yeah. It is interesting. Mind you, we have to say, last Dutch elections in the Netherlands, the National Front, you know, the fascist party, got tit to shit. Tit to fucking shit. Absolutely tit to shit.
Fuck those assholes.
It's a bit like in the last Australian election. The fucking Nazis, the fascists, tit to shit. Absolutely tit to shit. They were talking about, you know, they were going to take over Parliament. They got one person elected. One. And you have to remember, this is a Parliament. It's fucking easy to get elected. All right? So, one person. Anyway, have I ranted too much?
You did.
So,
it's okay.
sorry.
It's okay. You know, though, I'm gonna have to get off of here.
No, because I've ranted too much. I'm sorry, and
that's why. That's totally
go.
why. That's
exactly
totally
right.
why I have to get off here. Not because I have a bunch of shit I have to take care of.
I know.
Even though it's Saturday night for me, and it's Sunday morning for you there. Is that the case? What time is it there? Is it 10 a.m. there?
I don't want to say. It's street time.
Well, because, it's the weekend. Drink whenever the fuck you want. That's why America invented brunch. What's wrong with you?
Quarantine. There's no such thing as time anymore. Everything's just fucking... I'm not allowed to leave the fucking house. It's been 6, 7, 8 weeks. I can't leave the house and...
You'll be able to leave soon, and then you'll be going out and going, oh, what the fuck am I out here with all these people for? So yeah,
I saw one person actually who on Facebook who I hadn't seen for a very long time, who posted something just said, "Now that the lockdowns are all well and truly over in Britain, I miss them because I kind of like them." Even though that's maybe Britain don't count your chickens before they hatch because. You opened your fucking country and your numbers went through the fucking roof. But anyway...
not as bad as ours, but, you know... Yeah.
So
we're shit here. But, you know, we're gonna improve. It's gonna take a while to fix all the stuff that's gone wrong here. But we're gonna get there. We are. Either that or everything's going to burn, and who the fuck cares after that?
Well, there was the joke that I had with my mother. We were talking about with the Australian concept of lock everybody the fuck down and, you know, and all the rest of it, versus the Swedish concept of let everybody just do whatever the fuck they want. And
that didn't turn out well.
It didn't turn out very well at all. No. And my mother made the comment was, well, they don't have to pay out any of the pensions anymore.
Oh, Lord.
And
well, you know what?
Sorry,
again,
can I just say,
people's brains work differently.
Conspiracy Theory Central, let coronavirus run through your population. Now in America, I don't know how you work, but in Australia or Sweden, when you retire, you get a government pension, like a government allowance to live, right?
Well, we have Social Security, but you pay into it first. Yeah.
I don't know. This is just free. You just get fucking money to live. Right? Okay.
No. You pay into it.
So, but here's the thing: they don't have to pay it anymore. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Now that's a conspiracy theory from maybe another. Is the country which is viewed as being one of the most socially aware in the world? Did they find an out so they didn't have to pay off the people who created the society? That's an interesting. Look, I know it's a conspiracy theory.
No, here we already have reporting that Trump actually asked the question, what happened if we just let it wash over the country? And was told, and then he lied to America so it would just wash over the country. So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's the shit.
So,
all right, I gotta stop talking about this, Warren.
I don't know. This is something for Swedes maybe to talk about more. But it's
hit us up on the website.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hit us up on the website. Tell us what you're thinking.
What have you heard? What have you been talking about? All right. All right, we're done. We've got a lot more to talk about. We'll save it for next week. That's all right.
We're going to have to.
I wanted to talk about the new terrorist weapon, a tin of soup. Did you know terrorists are throwing away their AK-47s and embracing Campbell's soup?
Warren.
They are. If you go into my pantry right now, I am a terrorist hoarding weapons. I got Campbell's soup in there. I'm a terrorist hoarding weapons.
Well, first of all, that's gross because Campbell's is disgusting. But secondly, Trump officials have been taped online holding up, cans of soup. So
I know. Yes, I know. But anyway, apparently,
Wilbur Ross.
So what I want to ask Madagascar. Not Madagascar. Fuck it. Mozambique. What? Mozambique. You have an AK-47 on your flag. It is part of your flag, the rifle, to show the symbol of rebellion. I want to ask Madagascar, will you consider changing it to a tin of Campbell's chicken noodle soup?
Oh, Lord. Only tomato is worth it. No, only tomato is worth it. That's all I'm saying.
Tomato. So tomato.
You say tomato. I say tomato.
Let's go.
No, don't make me do that.
No, because the next line is not good.
Let's call the whole thing off.
I know, it's not where I wanted to go. So, but yes, so apparently soup tins are the new terrorist weapons of choice. If you've got a soup tin, now what I want to say is if you're holding a can of soup, just before we go, if it's all right, public service announcement, if you're an American, if you have a tin of soup in your pantry, please put it into a bag and carry it very carefully to your car. Take it to the closest police station. Walk in gently with your hands raised in the air and say that I want to dispose of these terrorist weapons. Now, the police...
Are you going to reimburse me for my soup?
Well, I don't know. You're America. In Australia, they would, but in America, I don't know. But anyway, please, everybody in America that has a tin of soup, please take it to your police station and hand it in as an illegal terrorist weapon. All right?
Hands up, don't shoot, right?
This is a public service announcement. Everybody must get rid of their tins of soup because, you know what? Taking an AR-15 to a demonstration is totally appropriate. But do not, under any circumstances, take a tin of Campbell's chicken and noodle soup because that is bad. All right? I think we've got that down.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is.
Yep. Because those people that take AR-15s to demonstrations, they're good. Ones who take Campbell's soup, fuck me.
That's...
I know. Yeah. All right. Anyway, that's a show. I talked too much. Sorry. My bad. Sorry.
You just had to get that soup in there.
Next week I'll sit back and fucking just listen. You can do all the talking.
You don't want to do that because I also talk too much. That's the whole point of the show.
No, you don't.
So,
I talk too much. Everyone complains I talk too much. They want to hear you. So, anyway. All right.
Nobody complains about that unless they're sending you private messages, okay? So, hush. I don't believe that's happening. You're just lying. All right.
Cut it out. We will be back.
I don't want to be lied to.
We'll be back next week with another Saints Martini where we talk, cocktails and conversations of the week. So, anything else we want to say before we go?
I don't. No, just thank you guys for listening. That's it.
Yep. And I'll just say, fuck you, Putin, fuck you, Trump. And thank you very much for listening.
Or palabra, as the case may be. Yes. Yes.
Right. No worries. All right. We'll be back next week. No worries.
All right.
Cheers,
Bye,
guys.